Page 11. Let's go ahead and trim off this top piece. We're going to do our cut just a little bit different, so let's go ahead and turn our sheet like this, measure over 8 inches, and cut it. Stick that in reserves. Now measure over 6 inches and cut it. Put this in reserves. This is our base sheet. Let's grab a piece of cardstock. Grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 6 inches, and cut it. Now, I'm using from the Ornate Borders and Pockets, this top one. Those of you that are using the deep edge punch, you'll punch along the long side here. For us, we are just going to place our brackets down, centered, and run it through our die cutter. Okay, once you get your top little flap released, we're going to go ahead and mount this. Those of you that, first this is going to be placed right in the center. We're going to cut this down to fit. So if you did the Martha Stewart punch, make sure that you can fit. Now, those of us that use this, we're probably going to have to trim just a hair off the bottom. But before we do any trimming on that, we definitely want to mount our pocket first and make sure we get that centered. That'll be easiest on this. And you'll want to keep this die that we just used handy because we're going to use that again. Okay, so I'm placing this down here, and chances are, like I said, if you use this, there's going to be a little bit of trimming there to do. So all I'm going to do is just move it over so where I can still see where the top and the bottom is, and I'm just going to line that up. My first cut down here is going to be for trimming to make this fit better, so I'm going to trim that down. Once you've trimmed yours, we're just going to center that so this is right there in the middle. And now I can use my pencil to make a mark on each side where I'm going to cut. So let's do that. Now all we're going to do is glue this down. Now grab a piece of cardstock and cut it to 5 inches by 7 inches. We are 5 inches across, 7 inches long. We are going to place our die plate like this, centering it, and we're going to run that through the die cutter. Those of you that have the deep edge punch, you can use that. Let's get our scoring board. We're going to go ahead and score it at the 1/2 inch mark. The next one is going to be at 5/8 of an inch. So let's score it there. Try to line mine up. Okay, set that off to the side. Next, cut a piece of cardstock that is 5 inches by 5 3/4 of an inch. And once you do that, we're going to grab our scoring board, and we are 5 3/4 of an inch across, and we are going to score this at the 1/2 inch and then 5/8 of an inch. Now let's double check our work here. This is the bottom flap. This will be the top flap. And you should be 5 inches on each of them. And it should look like this. Never mind my little area here of blemish. My tape kind of tore on my paper when I was removing it. It does not matter. It's going to get covered. Let's get our paper. Now, in your reserves, you will find a piece that looks like this. On the back, it looks like this. The size of this is 4 1/8 by 4 3/4. If you were to fold back all your flaps back behind on this piece, it will fit, leaving a nice black frame around there. We're going to go ahead and glue that down. Trying to keep it as even as possible, and sometimes to get it even you got to fold those flaps back behind to keep you even. Cut a piece of lace, and this is the 1/2 inch that will fit right on across here, and we're going to glue that down. So let's do that. In your paper pack, you will find another one of these. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut it. Now measure over 3 5/8 of an inch and cut it. This will go in reserves. Now let's fold our flaps back, and we are just going to set that right on over to the left, leaving black. And you'll probably want to leave the same amount. Put your things up like this. Leave about the same amount that you have on the other, as far as how far you are from the side. And I'm right about there. And then all I'm going to do is come over here, make a mark with my pencil, and I'm going to trim that. Now let's see. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and glue this down right here, centered. Really quick, before anything, make sure your flaps are at the bottom and they're tucked up underneath, otherwise you'll have this upside down. Let's work on this one first. You will have this in reserves. It's actually the other part to this that we just cut. Measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut that. We're going to do the exact same thing. Measure over 4 7/8 and cut it. Okay, put this off to the side. Let's make sure we fit before we do anything else, and we do. Now all you're going to want to do is grab a piece of cardstock that is in your reserves. And you're going to want one that is wide enough to get around the edges here. Once you do that, all we're going to do is glue this down and cut it to fit. Real simple. I'm going to leave about a 1/16 of black showing there. Now I'm going to trim off this excess black cardstock. Grab your score tape. And we're going to mount this as a pocket. Once you tack this down around the back, remember your flaps are up, we're going to just glue that right on down. So let's do that. Okay, this one is actually ready to go ahead and mount. We're just going to center that, pinch it, tack it down. Perfect. Let's grab this one, flip it up. Almost forgot, before we go any further, now you don't have to do magnets on this page at all, but I'm going to show you what you can do. You'll want to place your magnet up here. It will get covered. okay? And just let that dry for now. When it's dry, we're going to mount this one before we work on the inside. And all you do is just line up your sides there. And once you have them even, and remember your magnet can help you guide to keep straight as well. Once you have it like to where it's lined up, you want to pinch and hold that. Make sure it doesn't slide around. Tack it down. So if you don't have magnets, you don't have to have magnets on this page. It does stay down. Assuming this is dry, put your mate on top of it, a dab of glue in the middle. Now this is where you'll want to make sure you're lined up. Press. And now you know up here where it belongs. Let's get our paper. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. We've been cutting on it. So looking at it like this, measure over 4 1/4 inches and cut it. This piece goes in reserves. Bring this on up here and make sure you're clearing your inner score mark. And you should. And just put that up there, make a mark on the other side where you need to trim it to fit. And let's do that. Trim it. Now just apply glue and mount this, watching where your inner score mark is. Okay, let's cover that up. On your sticker sheet, let's grab a lovely life. And I'm going to apply glue to mine. And it just goes right across the top here. Again, you do not have to have magnets on this page. I like putting magnets on them. In your reserves, you will have another one of these. Let's cut out the postcard. Let's go ahead and ink around our edges. And I'm going to ink around mine fairly heavy on this one. On this particular one, go ahead and put your hands and pinch on the top so you don't end up gluing. Do a fine, thin line. We're not going to back this one with cardstock. And there's an option there if you'd like to use it for a small pocket. And then sometimes I pinch my sides in while it's still wet, so it bows a little bit and you can tell what that is. Grab a couple of your flowers, and I'm going to use a little filler. You do not have to on this. Hot. And you can add your leaves as you would like. Okay, this page is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones, and let's mount this in our book. Okay, we are on our last page. Grab this out of reserves. On the back it looks like this. This is our base page for page 12. Set this off to the side. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 8 inches by 7 inches. Let's grab our scoreboard. We are 7 inches across. At 6 inches you are going to score. And at 6 1/8 of an inch we're going to need to score again. Let's fold on our score line. 8 inches tall. And you should be like this. If you see a little bit of white from your paper showing through, that's fine. Let's flip this open. We're going to work on the inside first. So our tabs are in your paper pack. You will find this sheet on the back. It looks like this. Let's go ahead and trim off that top piece. Okay. Now looking at your paper with it the right side, looking at it head to head here, we are going to turn this to where it's the lightest part of the print. Measure over 5 7/8 of an inch and cut it. Now measure over 7 7/8 and cut it. Before we go any farther, let's make sure that we're fitting. If we need to trim a little bit more, we will. Make sure you're clearing your inner score mark. This looks good. Let's work on this. Now in your 4x6 cards, grab this one. And all I'm going to do is put this down. Bring it all the way over here, and I'm going to measure this to fit, and I'm going to trim it. So do that on yours, and let's trim that. Now check your reserves first for a piece of cardstock that's going to be wide enough to wrap around the back, but it does need to be about 6 inches tall. We are going to die cut across the long using the same little die that we have been on our previous page. Those of you using the Martha Stewart deep edge punch, go ahead and punch along the long side. We're going to go ahead and run this through our die cutter. Let's grab our score tape, and we are placing it on our panel here. It down. Okay, this. Now put this up. And if you need to do a little trimming, do so. Mine actually is fitting perfect. Let's glue this down. If you are using the Martha Stewart punch and you have extra black showing across here, we are going to be putting lace, so don't worry about that. Cut a piece of lace to fit across. And we're going to glue that down. I'm going to trim my little threads first though. Next, cut a piece of bling and glue that down. Okay, grab your fold out, your first fold out. Your flaps are off to the left. Let's glue this down. Mine's down. Let's flip it over, and I'm going to pull my tabs underneath. It's easier. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It looks like that. Measure down 7, or measure over actually, 7 7/8 of an inch and cut it. Now we are going to measure over 5 13/16 of an inch and cut it. Before we go any farther, let's make sure that this is going to fit, leaving a little bit of black around the edges. Mine fits really good. Our next step is I need you to cut 4 pieces of black cardstock that is 5.5 inches by 4 3/4 inches. So go ahead and cut 4 of those out. Grab your scoring board, and what you are going to do is on each one of these, you're to lay them out so that you are 4 3/4 of an inch across. At 5/8 of an inch, we are going to score them. So I'm going to go ahead and make a pencil mark just in case. Make sure that that is accurate. Yep. So at 5/8 of an inch, we are going to score these. Fold on all of your score lines on each. Now this is the part where we're going to get into our reserve pile pretty good. You should have a bunch of these just laying around. And you're going to be able to choose whatever one that you would like to lay, or you can do it as I do. But you're going to pick 8 of them out. Let's see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I had this one, 8. Now, some of these may be slightly bigger than the other, okay? We are going to cut all of these down to the same thing. On each one of these, you are going to measure over to 5 3/8 of an inch and cut them just like that. Doesn't matter which side you lay or whatever. We may be off as far as I may have this, you may have that, but the easiest way to do it is pick the colors that you like best and just measure on over to 5 3/8 and cut them all. If you would like to wait and see which ones I start to lay and then cut yours all down to make sure, because if you're cutting over this way, 5 3/8, we're going to be a little bit different, but it's not going to make a big deal. Okay, the panels that I am going to use in this are these. And we still need to cut them down, but in case you want to get a head start, those are the ones. Now, on each one of these, we're going to measure over 4 inches and cut it down. So like for this one, I'm going to look at it which way I like, and I'm probably going to measure over 4 inches and take some of the roses off on that one. On this one, I'm going to measure over 4 inches and cut there. Measure over 4 inches and cut there. Measure over 4 inches and cut there. I'm going to measure over 4 inches and cut there. I'm going to measure 4 inches this way. And on these, this one has flowers showing, so I'm going to measure over 4 inches, cut that, and the same goes with this one. So let's go ahead and cut ours down, and then we're going to check to make sure we're fitting okay. You're going to find that a lot of these were already at 4 inches, so there was no cutting necessary. Let's check. And this is going to be a perfect fit. So let's start putting these on. Okay, we're gluing down our first one to the top. This is going to, here is our panel. Each one of these are going to lay like this. So the first one, I laid that. Now I'm going to flip it up. And I'm going to, where is it? I'm going to lay this one right here. And I'm going to apply my glue. I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to grab this one, and this one I have my flap tucked underneath, and I'm going to glue that down. That up, and I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to glue it down. Okay, setting this one off to the side. Flaps I'm tucking underneath, it makes it easier. Let's grab another light one and glue that down to the top. Flip it up. And I'm going to use this light one here. Set that one off to the side. Grabbing this one, holding the flaps behind the back. Let's glue this one down here on the outside. We will flip it up and we will glue down our last one inside. So let's do that. Lay them all out. What we are going to do is, you can see where your score mark is. On each one of these, right on the right side here, you're going to get your score tape on as straight as possible. And then all we are going to do is set this on the paper cutter and trim off the excess we don't need. So let's do that. So mine are all cut down, as you can see when I fold it over, it's just that. We're going to place our first one, and I'm going to keep it even in between here, and I'm just going to come down, oh, I don't know, I think that's about a 1/2 inch. I'll measure in a moment. The key is keeping this as straight as possible. It's about a 1/2 inch. So once you've done that one, flip it up. I had to get a cup of coffee and I had a phone call come in. So we are on this one, and all we are going to do is, and I'm going to show you before taking the score tape off, but once you take the score tape off, you're just going to line that right on up to this trim, making sure that you are straight. And it really isn't that hard. Sometimes we get off a little bit, a little crooked, but for the most part, we can get that done right. And once you've got it down, just do like that, and we're going to move on to our next one. Sometimes it's just a matter of trying to line up corner to corner. There. And our last one. Okay. Now, sometimes you do need to bend it when you don't put any spacing in. You're going to probably want to bend it just a little bit like this. It's not going to hurt nothing. It just helps the paper form and bow over for you. We are going to install something to keep that down, but to start, that's good. Let's grab some cardstock. Cut a piece of cardstock that is 2 inches by 8.5 inches. Now what you're going to do is cut that right down the middle at 4.25 inches. Place your piece down. We are 4.25 inches across. At 3 11/16 we are going to make our first score mark. And then we are going to score again, measure over from that mark 1/8 of an inch. And I gotta move mine. And score again. Now, what you're going to do with this is pull your sides in. You can make a mark where the middle is with your pencil first at 1 inch, so you know where your middle is. Pull in to make a triangle so that we have, trying to get that straight. So this is what you're going to have. Let's just tack those down really quick. Okay. Next, at the 1/2 inch mark, you're just going to make one score. And let's fold on that. Oops. Before we do anything, we want to make sure we are going to reach across. And you should reach across just like that. So the first thing I want to do is make sure this is flat and down. I'm gonna put this one on first, and I'm just gonna hook it on like this, laying this down. I'm gonna pinch it, flip it over, and tack this first one. The second one is going to go over it just like this. We will be using a magnet. Pinch it and wrapping it. And that should give you straight. Let's get our magnets. First one I'm going to place is right on this one. I'm just going to use a little hot glue for this. Oh, the mate looks like it's already on there. Yep, it is. Now, I'm going to do my little thing here. And when I wrap it over, I'm going to make sure that I'm lined up. And now I'm going to place its mate. Okay, let's get our paper. Now in your reserves, you should have a piece that looks like this. We're going to cut as many as we can get out of this. So measure over 1 7/8 of an inch and cut a strip. And then you're going to do it again and cut a strip. Now on each one of these, we're going to measure over 3.5 inches and cut it. Let's glue down our first one. This one, all we have to do on this is center it on our thing where you can still see the black tip. Whoops. Flip it over because we're going to make a pencil mark. So we're going to just center this here where you see the black tip, make a mark. Let's fold in our sides and hopefully we will be pretty even with that arrow type thing. And you should fit nicely. One thing I am going to do is I am going to trim off instead of tacking it around. So, ooh, mamma mia. I should never cut by hand. That is my rule and I do it anyway. Okay, let's glue this down. Okay, let's flip this open. In your reserves, you should find this. Measure over 1 7/8 of an inch and cut it, and you will cut another one, measure over 1 7/8. Okay, on both of these, measure over 3.5 inches and cut it. Let's glue down our first one. And on this one, making sure, okay, I'm going to flip this over and do the same thing I did before. Pencil mark, folding in, and then checking to make sure that it fits. So let's do that. Okay. Now I've checked mine fit, and I trimmed off that. It's time to glue this down. Perfect. Okay. For this one, you can use glue. However, I recommend using our score tape. I'm going to put score tape around the outside, one down the middle, and then I'll just put a little bit of glue in there. Okay, I got my score tape off. Here is my fold out. My flaps are tucked underneath so it's easier to see. And I am going to place this. Perfect. Let's grab our base page and attach our fold out. And we're going to tack this down. That's beautiful. That's really nice. That looks good. Okay, I am going to put a little bit of filler right here. You do not have to. And grab one of these. And that goes there. What you're going to want to do now is cut a piece of your 1/2 inch lace to fit, and you're going to glue it down right here, making sure you're not on your score line, and you're going to allow that to dry, and then you're going to move on and cut another piece, glue it down, let that dry, do it here and here. So let's go ahead and do that. Mine is still wet. Once you have them all down, in your sticker sheet you will find this moment, and we're going to mount that to black cardstock, and we're going to leave about a 1/16 of black showing all the way around. So let's go ahead and cut around that. Once you have that done, let's just apply a little bit of glue and place that. Let's flip that on your sticker sheet. You will find this. Let's mount that to black cardstock, and we're going to cut around it, leaving a little bit of black showing around the edges. So let's do that. Whoops, flew right out of my hands. We're gonna glue that down right like that. On your sticker sheet you will find this one. We're going to do the same thing, mounting this to black cardstock and cutting around it. We're going to give it just a little bend. I'm going to put a little hot glue here and here. This just goes over just a hair like that. Grab one of your smaller pale pink with the rhinestone in the middle. Place it right there. Okay, I grabbed one of these. This is one of the ones that had the little greenish yellow bulb in the middle. I snipped it off. I'm grabbing a flat back pearl and I'm going to glue it in the middle. Okay, I got that done. This goes right here. Grab one of your butterflies, your wooden butterflies. That goes right here. Grab one of your bingo wooden embellishments. Lift up on your leaves there. Place that down. Grab another flat one that has the rhinestone in the middle. Place that right there. Okay, last piece, simple things. We're going to do the same thing, is mount this on black cardstock and cut around it. We're going to glue that down just like this. This page is complete. Flip it over. Place your score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two short ones, and hold off. We are going to mount this together. The reason why we're going to mount this together is to make sure you don't get over too far here. If it's easier for you, grab a ruler, but the idea is we need to leave at least a 1/2 inch. So if you put a line right there, you know the edge of this is going to hit right there. I think I'm pretty straight there. Alright, I am, and I got it in there. Press it all down. Alrighty. That came out really good. It's time to put our chain. To put the side closure on, you are going to need your snips and your needle nose. And the first thing you're going to do is look at your drifts and the rings. Are they completely closed? And if they're not, just use this to make sure they are completely closed, and mine are. I'm going to flip this over this way. And we have to loop it through the other side here. And then we do need to measure to find out. For now, let's go ahead and snip off some here. It's easier. I'm going to go down through these. Okay, and all you are going to do is even this out so both your tails are the same. You are also going to need either your craft knife or something like this to get through here on the back. The first thing I want you to do though is just place it there on its spine. Okay, you don't want it to be too tight, mashing it. You want it to naturally fall. So once you do that, put your finger here, grab your pencil, and make a mark. Just like that, 2 marks. That is where I am going to punch through, and I know that I will clear my fold out. You may need to have your craft knife to help you out there, to widen the holes to get the chain through, which I think I do, and all I'm going to do is run this around. Don't worry about any paper tearing. It may be easier for you to just open up your album, and I got the chain coming through now. And I'm going to pull that through. And I'm going to do the same for this side. And the tweezers work awesome for this, to grab it. Okay. Now we are going to close the book here so that we can measure exactly what we need, but don't pull them back through. Clasp it. Now, this is where we can pull it to see what we need. That is where I need to be. So let's grab our ring. And on this, I'm going to do 2 rings to make sure that if one ever breaks, I'm going to open it up there. And I'm just going to feed it through. I'm going to grab a second one just for added security. We will be gluing something down over this, so. And closing it. Perfect. Okay, you can unattach your dreads. Make sure that you are working. Hopefully you don't have to undo your side. Again, remember you will have some picture mats in here. Let's grab a charm. And a ring. Lay these down flat. And let's glue a flower right on top. I glued my petals down around it. On my sticker sheet, there is this piece, and I believe that that's going to work okay in here. All I'm going to do is grab a piece of black cardstock, and then I'll cut around. And I think I'm going to use my black pen for this. That looks good to me. I'm going to glue that down. And now I'm going to put the cover over it. There we go. And I'm just going to leave this extra little chain hanging off there. It's kind of cool. Okay, I have mine on its spine. I am going to attach that to hang right like that. And I'm going to go far enough in to where I won't split on the side. Just like that. And for this, I'm going to grab slightly larger ring, slide that through. And I'm going to grab it around both of the chains. Just like that. If you want to add more, then add more. This concludes this tutorial. All you need to do now is create your picture mats and your tags. If you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, you'll get updates of every time I release a new tutorial, whether it be a mini album or some other project. I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you next time.